Well, here we are again for another episode of the Corner Blue, everybody. I'm Andres Rico. How you doing, Hugo?
Doing well. Looking forward to another episode and talk about the national team that is very dear to our heart and the bus that is very dear to our hearts.
Yes. We jinxed the bus, ladies and gentlemen. It just so happens that the day that we were supposed to post our episode where we talked about the new bus that the selector got, video showed up on social media showing that it had, of course, broken down. Womp womp. So, needless to say, hopefully they get that situation fixed or else that's 130,000 down the drain. But hey, it's the Fesfut.
Yeah, it's good that these things happen without having
Without
the
the team
players
on
on the
it.
bus. Yeah, I mean it's just
Yeah.
part of the process. It's just quality
Things
check.
break down,
Yeah, things break
it
down.
was the first week. They had to just, figure it out, give it a tune up or something. Hopefully they'll be ready to roll once the team actually needs to use it.
Yeah.
And then another update, the transfer window is closed and we still don't know where Oscar Seren's going to end up. So it's a mystery. Only time will tell. But what do you think about that, Hugo?
Well, I think that is yet another very dramatic episode of a transfer coming out of El
Salvadoran transfer,
Salvador.
yeah.
Yeah, every time that there's something unclear, there's a transfer. Hey, this player's going to Spain, but we don't know where. I think there's always something else behind the scenes that we're not aware about. So I'm hopeful that something good will come out of this, but I must say, um, I have my doubts. I think that a lot of things can change whenever, there's no clarity whether there's a pre-contract sign. I mean, if you think about it, I think that the transfer window might be closed in Europe.
It is, yeah.
So don't be surprised if you don't see anything until the next transfer window, if in fact he is making a move to Spain. I take that one with a grain of salt and staying positive, but I think there's something strange whenever a team announces that a player is leaving the club. A player that had contract until 2022.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I'm not sure if he had like a clause in the contract that if something came up uh overseas that he would be free to go, because that's one thing that has basically grounded players in El Salvador, is that when some interest comes up, because they're not high profile signings, buying clubs want to be able to take them away on a non-existing fee or a really cheap fee, which makes sense because in a way Salvadoran players still have to prove themselves, but it seems that the clubs tend to get a little greedy and kind of want to put, roadblocks along the way in order to pressure clubs to pay more than, I guess you could say the fair share. Not that I think Salvadoran players aren't worth it, but being realistic in terms of the transfer market, we still have a long way before we can start expecting Salvadoran players to be heading out for a hefty fee.
yeah, and also I think there's a lack of experience from the clubs in terms of what a player is worth. I think that clubs should get their money back. I mean, it is an investment that they make whenever they sign a player. I think they should ask for something. But yes, that clause has become very popular lately in El Salvador, and I'm not quite sure if I agree with that clause, to tell you the truth. Again, because I think the clubs are investing in the players, and they deserve to at least get their money back. Um, but
Or some compensation.
some compensation. But again, there is that lack of experience in transfers from the clubs and the players and the media, if you really think about it, because in a lot of the cases, the money that is being asked for the players is pennies compared to what players out of South America cost. I mean, we're talking about maybe the most expensive player in El Salvador might go out for a transfer of under $200,000, which in the soccer world is not a lot of money. But over there, when they think about that amount, they see it as, oh my God, these clubs are crazy asking for so much money, and they're affecting the career of these players. I think that that there is a lack of clarity in terms of how the process works, and also lack of experience. So I think there's a lot of room there for improvement, and definitely we've seen the loans with option to buy, which is always a good option for the clubs and the players. In some cases, the players are loaned out for free with option to buy 6 months later. So yeah, so that was strange, because from my understanding is that Seren had a contract until 2022. Um, so we'll see. I think it's gonna be a long ride, long wait. So
Yeah, and you feel for the player more than anything,
yeah,
because you wish that you could see players make the move abroad and have something stable. It's too often that you see or hear of either rumors of players being able to go abroad, or the possibility comes up and it just doesn't come into fruition. And like you said, it just seems like it's either expectations are unrealistic, on the club side, sometimes the player side, and you see the lack of being able to maneuver the business side of clubs with more experience.
right, right. Because you can also get a little creative with it. It could be like, if you're gonna ask for 100,000 for a player, which again uh, is not a lot of money. But maybe because Salvadorian players are not perceived as players of high value or any value at all, it could be that you sell the player for 50 grand, but you keep a certain percentage if there's a move to a different club, and then that way the clubs can kind of balance it out. But yeah, it's good that our players are getting noticed, and if you see, we have a reasonable number of players. I mean, nothing compared to other countries, but lately it seems like we have a consistent 2, 3 players abroad, something that was never the case back in the 90s. I mean, until MLS got started, and we had the Cienfuegos, Diaz Arce, Sarko Rodriguez come into MLS.
Yeah, definitely. The main thing is just trying to create almost like a brand, or establish that there is talent coming from El Salvador. And obviously that's all connected with the national team and how the national team does. I know we're still waiting for confirmations on the friendly matches coming up in November, but we're seeing the rivals in the area getting their friendly matches up and going. So we'll see what happens with that. But despite all that, there is some good news that came out of El Salvador this week, or last week actually. The same night that we recorded our last episode, reports started coming out how La Fesfut had hired Diego Enriquez as its new sports director, which is something very positive, something that there hasn't been someone in that position, other than Eduardo Lara, who did it for a little bit, but it wasn't really something long-term or consolidated, because he was immediately bumped up to the head coach of the national team. So that's something that's very positive. I don't know too much about Diego Enriquez, other than what the reports have said, that he is the founder of the College Cup tournament in El Salvador, which is geared towards scholastic. It's a scholastic tournament in soccer. He was also the host of a sports program in El Salvador, and he has that background going for him as well. And it's an interesting hire. He's obviously already started making some moves, or at least promoting the job that he's doing of trying to reach out to the Heed brothers, along with the Fútbol Playera. And also he's reached out to you. Would you mind talking to us a little bit about what that approach has been?
Yeah. Well, I just want to add to his curriculum. Overall, I think it's a positive move from the federation. We haven't really had someone in that position, someone whose sole purpose is that role. So I think overall it's a good move. He's also a former player. He played for Tulsa, I think, University in the United States. So he has that experience of college soccer. He also played for the youth national teams of El Salvador. So he has that background. He has the experience of being a player, and of course all of his other involvement in soccer in El Salvador. I think it's a good move. So obviously he speaks English. He went to school in the United States. That's always a plus. It helps whenever you're talking to players or talking to other associations. In general, I think it adds to it. And yes, as we've seen, he's already reached out to the Mosquera brothers' father, and that's always good. You know, we finally, or at least there is something public that we're seeing, that there's been some approach from an official of the Salvadorian Federation. So that's
Rather
good.
just leave things in speculations and stuff like that.
Right. So I think it's good. And as you mentioned, I mean, you've seen some of the things on Twitter. There's been an approach from him to he's interested in what I'm doing here with Selected Talent. We had a conversation a couple days ago, and yeah, and it was a good conversation. He has great ideas, and he's trying to structure things, especially when it comes to youth national teams, have more of a set structure in terms of what type of style they want to play and what kind of players they want to have in the national team,
Coaches as well.
coaches as well. So I think he's trying to set the blueprint for those national teams, U17, U20, U23, and also the female national team. So um, it's always good when someone comes in with those ideas, and then he will also need the support of the federation to be able to accomplish or at least move forward with those ideas. And yeah, I had a conversation with him. It was a good conversation. There's uh, interest in some collaboration. So from my perspective, I've been doing this for 10 years, um, and I think that there's a lot that I could do in terms of approaching players from a different perspective, maybe approaching players from without going into details, because I don't really know what's going to come out of this. But
Mhm.
it's different when you approach a player with knowing that maybe you have some connection, official ties to the federation, rather than I started
Third
Select the
party.
Talent, third party. So we'll see what comes out of it. We'll definitely keep everyone informed. But so far, early stages, conversation was good, and um, I'm looking forward to being able to continue doing what I've been doing, possibly at a different level, different role. We'll see
Yeah,
what the future holds.
that would be amazing, man. Because yeah, you put in time doing this work, and if it could be officialized, that would be great for everyone involved. One thing I did notice is, yeah, it seems like it is a move. It totally is a move in a positive direction when you have someone within the federation being accessible to players, especially via being able to speak English. That's something that I feel like there was always kind of like either a cultural or obviously a linguistic roadblock or barrier between the federation and being able to reach out to players abroad. And it seems that by hiring someone like that, they're definitely making La Fesfut seem more accessible and progressing in a way, because you do hope that he's able to reach out to players, but also you really hope that he's able to restructure, as you said, youth soccer in El Salvador, because there isn't a uniform system. The system's very fragmented, where you have ADFAS, kids playing in communities or rural communities in ADFAS, if they make it up through the system. Then you have the collegiate games throughout the country, but there's no connection where you can filter out talent either from the collegiate tournaments, whether it's private or public schools, and then the alphas. So if there's some way of consolidating things and having a system, almost in a way similar to the US, I don't think would be a bad thing. Obviously, you don't want kids paying to play because that's BS in of itself. But if you can have tiers of, rec players and certain level of a varying competition, where you start filtering these players out, feeding them into clubs, the academy starting to form the players that rise to the top. And then you have the national team at the top of the pyramid picking out the creme of the creme. I think that's a way of doing it. So it seemed that this is something that, he's going to try and structure, and time will tell. And we're obviously here talking about La Selecta, so we're the eternal optimists here.
Yeah, and always new blood is always good. And
Definitely.
young blood, new blood, coming with someone who's going to come with different ideas, I think is positive, because for years we've been seeing kind of like the same people recycling, and whenever you have a person who can come in with new ideas, I think it's positive. And again, hopefully he has the support that he needs to be able to succeed in his job.
No, and I think it's exciting that you have that prospect of being able to work again hand in hand with the Fesfut, because I'm not sure what was the last time that you worked that close with them, because I know you did the camps here in, what was it, 2013. That's when things started to pick up for you. Since then, have you worked that close with the federation, or is this the most recent approach that they've had to you in a while?
I would say it's different in terms of the type of approach. Throughout the years, I've always had some contact with Ernesto Goches, which I'm grateful for. The type of relationship that we have built, because it has opened the doors to some of the players that I find. So I've always had that type of connection. But in terms of
And he's always been proactive too, right?
it's always been proactive. He's always asked me for camps, which I haven't been able, due to timing. I haven't been able to do for him for the youth teams. But I would say in terms of kind of like something that looks official, back in 2012, probably prior to that camp, I happened to be in El Salvador for something else. So the federation found out that I was there, and we had a press conference, and it was definitely a very interesting experience for me, because I had only been doing selected talent for under 2 years, and here I was at the Fesfut headquarters with all the Comité Ejecutivo, and me kind of leading the whole press conference. So it was cool. I guess at that time I did, started seeing, um, possibly having something official going on with the federation as a real possibility. And I did make some proposals, but things never really moved. Didn't really went anywhere. However, as you know, I have continued doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it no matter what. But yes, it has been the first approach in which there is real interest in possibly, um, maybe officializing what I do, and again, time will tell.
Yeah, that would be
Mhm.
great, because I remember we've talked several times about cases of people that have done work like yours for other countries, and they found themselves getting a job or an official position within either the federation of the country that they're from, or even making themselves known within the professional arena as well.
Currently I have direct conversations with one of the scouts of the Chilean national team, and he basically started off like me, in a way, and then the Chilean Federation didn't waste much time and hire him, and that's what he does.
Did it take 10 years?
I don't really, I don't remember asking him exactly, but I don't think it did. And currently, he's in Uruguay for the game that just ended a few hours ago, and It's actually been really cool, because when he comes across Salvadorian players in his search for Chilean players, he would like contact me and let me know, hey, I found this player in certain country, and then I will pick up from there. So yes, people like him are an inspiration. Also, Matias Mana, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I think his story it's quite interesting, and I actually did have contact with him years ago, about 9 years ago, when there was the prospect of Juan Manuel Lillo managing the Salvadorian national team, and he was um, basically on board to be part of the coaching staff at some level. And he reached out to me and he said, hey, if this goes through, I am highly interested in having you be part of this. So
And who's he? Can you give us some background on who he
yeah,
is?
so he's from Argentina, and basically, from what I know, he started a blog called Paradigma Guardiola, and basically in his blog he would analyze the style of play of Pep Guardiola when he was coaching Barca. And basically he would make videos and he would edit the videos and he would kind of explain the movements of the players, and why certain players move in certain ways, and the type of play that they were going to do. And it turns out that his understanding of Guardiola's philosophy was right on point, that even Guardiola himself reached out to him, or they had conversations, and it was quite amazing. So anyways, long story short, he ended up working um, for the Chilean national team. He actually went to the World Cup with Chile under I can't remember the name of the coach.
Sampaoli?
Under Sampaoli, he was part of the coaching staff, and then when Sampaoli was in Sevilla, he was there. And I think currently he's working for Argentina. So I know that he was probably successful doing other things as well in the academic world. I can't remember exactly what he did, but anyways, he turned his love for the sport into a career. And so I think his story is it's remarkable, and it's inspiring. So we'll see. I mean, I'm happy. When I started this, my goal was to support the national team in some way. I was tired of basically just looking at all the negativity and always pointing out all the things that are wrong with our national team, and I try to find something in which I can create some positivity and support the national team and add something to the national team, as opposed to just you know do
Living off
the
of it or taking away from it or
yeah,
complaining about it?
or complaining about it,
Yeah.
because I'm always going to support my national team. So what's the point of me complaining
No
all
matter
the
how
time?
toxic the relationship, just
Exactly.
can't look away.
Every qualifier, I'm going to be there. So might as well try to support and try to make those qualifiers or other tournaments
Gotta
a little
try and
bit more.
make that relationship work no matter what.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, and again, no matter what comes out, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. It's a proven method. I think I've shown results. So as long as the doors are open at some level for me, whether that's what I've been doing, just sending information over from players that I find, to something a little bit more official, I'm open to continue doing my support at whatever level that might be.
That's definitely something to look forward to, and obviously congratulations for that. So hope for the best, and we'll see what happens,
Yeah,
man.
we'll see what happens, and if it becomes something, we can talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. You'll hear it here second after you hear it on his page on Select the Talent, everybody. So. But anyway, speaking of that, you had a busy week. On top of everything, you were able to interview Marcos Velado-Tsegaye on Select the Talent. He talked about the prospects of being called up. Could you give us a brief intro to that? Because we're gonna play the interview on this podcast, and then we'll close out afterwards.
Yes, so Marcus is a very exciting player, very interesting history background. So his information, or at least a lead, was sent to me by one of my followers on Selected Talent on my Facebook page, and I get a lot of those, and a lot of times they're not real, or their information it's misleading.
Yeah, I sent
So
you one about myself 10 years ago. Not
exactly, and it was misleading. So yes, I started doing my research, the same process that I always do. Most important, confirm from the players themselves or one of their parents that they're in fact Salvadorian. And because Velado, it's not really a very common Salvadorian name or surname. Tsegaye, obviously not. So yes, so basically I found him. We started exchanging some information, and it was a very interesting talk. So enjoy it. All right, Marcus. I was just introducing you to the Salvadorian fans, selectthetalent.com. As you know, we talked a little bit about it, and I've been doing this for 10 years. I basically search for Salvadorian players around the world. And when I came across your name, I think one of my followers actually sent me some information about you, and I researched you, and I was pretty excited because I never really found, a Salvadorian Ethiopian player. So I thought that was very interesting. So I immediately reached out to you, and we started talking. So I just introduced you to the fans. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Have training later today, so nothing, just an ordinary day, but as health wise and everything, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you.
Good, good. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? So we already talked to the fans. We already told them how we came about you, but we want to know how you are in terms of a player. What's your style of play?
So I find myself as a player, who likes to take risks, take those defenders on, look to find space in behind, and attacking is a big part of my game, as I am a winger, but I also can play inside. I also, look to always try to score and shoot from wherever, really, have that threat of being a goal scorer. That's my game, and speed.
And Marcus, so you signed your first professional contract with FC Edmonton at the age of 17. That's pretty remarkable. It's not something that we see a lot in North America. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience? How was that for you?
Yeah, so the summer before I signed that professional contract, we had or I myself had a really good season, being one of the top goal scorers in the league. And also, we did go to a kind of tournament in Ireland, where I also got some good minutes and, really stood out. And that made the first team coach of FC Edmonton really, um, kind of believe in me and offer the contract. And I mean, ever since that contract, it's kind of been, now everything's soccer, everything's, football. Um, but yeah, that experience has just been really good. I've been learning so much already from these past 2 years. And yeah, I just want to keep learning and keep going to the next step, never being comfortable with where I am.
So you were playing for the FC Edmonton Academy prior to signing with the first team.
Yes, I started with FC Edmonton Academy, their U16. So I started when I was 14 years old.
That's pretty remarkable, Marcus. So we know that the Canadian Premier League in Canada, it's somewhat of a new league. I have a lot of experience, watching MLS and USL and ASL here in the United States. But what's your perspective as a player who's in it? How do you feel in terms of the professionalism in that league? How does it compare to maybe what you've seen in maybe USL, because USL used to have some teams in Canada. So how professional is it? Does it provide everything you need as a footballer to continue growing?
Well, I think that our league has really progressed in terms of professionalism from the first season to the second season. There's a lot more players coming in from overseas, and we're really getting a lot of traction from the league. It's starting to become more popular. I think for my club, it does do a really good job of being professional and taking care of us and having all of our needs so that we can succeed on the pitch. But yeah, I think it's still the early stages, so we can't really compare it to the MLS or anything like that. But it's working the way up.
Thank you, Marcus. So as you know, here at Select the Talent, what we do is that we search for Salvadorian footballers, and what our intention is to basically support the players, to get them known, get their names out there, and we also communicate directly with the Salvadorian Federation and coaches, and basically, in your case, I have to ask this question. You have you're Canadian by birth, Ethiopian father, and Salvadorian mother, so technically you have 3 options when it comes to national team. If this is the question that a lot of our followers want to know, the U20s, because you still qualify for U20 national team coming up. If you were to get a call from the Salvadorian national team for the U20 this coming March, will you attend that call up, and how will you feel about that?
So regarding the 3 countries, I mean, it'd be an honor to play for Canada, para El Salvador, Ethiopia. I mean, all those countries equally, they hold a close place to my heart. But yeah, if I did get a offer to come play for the U20 national team, I think it's something I would really be interested in. As an experience, as playing for my country. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good for me taking that and playing for the team.
Thank you for that response. And in terms of being ready to play for the national team, in this case for El Salvador, we know that there are legal aspects, legal steps to be able to become eligible to play for the national team. I'm going to say this because I'm involved in this, but we have, I think that when a player shows interest, with actions, you show that interest with actions, meaning in your case, when I reached out to you, I said, hey, I can help you get the process going to get your Salvadorian documents. And you provided the information that I needed. So I think that shows a very clear intention from you to have that option to play for El Salvador. So have you ever watched any Salvadorian national team games? What do you think of the fans, if you ever had an opportunity to watch them in a stadium?
So yeah, ever since a young age, my family and I, we've always watched La Selecta play. And even against Canada, we've always watched those games in particular, and we've seen, El Salvador win sometimes. And I mean, one thing that just stands out is just the passion that the fans have. And, as a player, you just love to play for fans that passionate. And yeah, I mean, the way El Salvador plays too, it's just, it's I feel like it's pretty good, and it's just something I can see myself playing in.
Marcos, so you keep saying La Selecta, and earlier I think you also threw a Spanish word out there. So you speak some Spanish. Le digo a Marcos que hemos notado que en esta entrevista de vez en cuando ha tirado como palabras en español, incluso cuando dice La Selecta o dijo El Salvador, se le nota que tiene el español bastante bueno. Entonces la pregunta es si habla español.
Sí, Sí, hablo español, entiende todo que tú estás diciendo, pero para hablar es un poquito difícil, pero yo entiendo todo.
Y bueno, Marcus, te voy a hablar un poquito en español. Entonces, lo que tú nos dijiste es que te puedes ver, ¿sabes cuál es el Cuscatlán, no?
Sí,
Sí, tú te puedes ver jugando en el Cuscatlán con la afición salvadoreña, apoyando.
sí. Yo pienso que yo puedo jugar ahí y vas a ser bueno. Sí.
Y bueno, dinos, ¿cómo es? ¿Has viajado alguna vez a Etiopía? ¿Has conocido el país de tu padre?
Sí, cuando era casi 3 años,
Ujú.
fui a Etiopía, y era, good experience and yeah, but I went to El Salvador once and Ethiopia once.
How old were you when you went to El Salvador?
Era como 8 años.
Como 8 años.
Sí,
Ok, ya estabas, ya. Entonces sí me imagino que tienes buenos recuerdos.
sí,
Sí.
sí. But we stayed with my grandpa, so we were in the city. We weren't in a hotel, so we kind of experienced all the festivals. We went to festivals where all the food was out there, and it was it was good to see all the family. We would play in the streets with all the neighborhood kids. We'd play football, and it'd just be a good time.
Y bueno, Marcus, en cuanto a tu futuro, eh, tú tienes contrato con el FC Edmonton hasta finales de esta temporada, ¿correcto?
Sí, hasta el fin de octubre.
Fin de octubre. Eh, y probablemente tienes una opción de extenderlo.
Sí,
¿Esa opción es opción del equipo o tuya o como
es del equipo.
del equipo? Ok. Y en cuanto a tu futuro, ¿cuál es tu visión? Tal vez a corto plazo, tal vez en un año, 2 años y a largo plazo. ¿Cuál es tu proyección? ¿Te ves jugando en MLS o irte a Europa? ¿Cuál es tu ambición como futbolista en cuanto a nivel club?
So my goal for the next couple years is, well, I really want to go overseas, get at a higher level over there. And even if I did stay in North America, MLS would be something I would also really consider, as it's higher than where I'm at right now. So there's no specific place, but I just feel like if it's a stepping stone for me, then I'll take it.
And have you ever tried pupusas?
Sí, mi abuela tiene un restaurante aquí en Edmonton que se llama
Oh.
Mamenches, y estoy comiendo pupusas cada semana.
Bueno, si están en Edmonton y están viendo esta entrevista, vayan al restaurante de la abuela de Marcus. ¿Mamenche se llama?
Sí,
Bueno, como pueden ver, la parte más importante del ADN salvadoreño la tiene, le gustan las pupusas. Um, Marcus, it's been great talking to you. Our first interview. I hope there's many more to come. I'm very excited. I must say, very excited about the possibility of you representing El Salvador. For me, when I see players like you coming to the national team, it's really fulfilling, because this was my vision, 10, almost 11 years ago, and to see it, I don't want to say finally, because I've been seeing many players go to the national team that come out of my initiative years ago, but to see it that there's new generations, like you and Rico Hernandez. And honestly, I believe that from some conversations that I've had with the coaches in El Salvador, you are definitely one of the players that they would love to have in the national team. So I'm looking forward to things moving along in the right direction, and that that you get the opportunities that you need to continue growing in your career, whatever that might be. Marcus, is there any message that you like to give to the Salvadorian fans before we end today?
Just wanted to say I've been seeing the messages and the support I've on social media, and I've just wanted to thank you guys all for the positive comments. And yeah, I hope to eventually try and see if I can play for La Selecta.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was the chat between Hugo and Marcus earlier this month. He seems like a really chill dude. Hopefully, he's able to get that call up. It's amazing how globalized the world is, how someone can have all these different nationalities, all these different countries are connected by certain individuals, and you would have never dreamed of it. So that's crazy that we have a Salvadoran player out in Canada who's also Ethiopian and Los Pupusas, and his grandma has a pupuseria. Like, I already followed him on Facebook, so hopefully, we get to try them one of these days, especially if La Selecta ever goes to play out in Canada or close to Edmonton. No, that was a great chat, Will. So what were your sensations or feelings leading up to this, or how did you walk away from this interview feeling?
I walked away with feeling that he's definitely 100% open to the possibility of playing for La Selecta. He also made it very clear that all of his three countries hold a very dear place in his heart. So I think it's a matter of making moves, making fast moves. And I think he's a very exciting player. Obviously, he's playing in the Canadian Premier League, which is a young league, so maybe it doesn't have that big of a reputation. But I think that he's a player who can make a move very quickly. And if he's playing in MLS or Europe or other bigger league, other national teams are going to knock on his door. So I think it's time to make moves. That's the way I see it. And hopefully, for the well-being of his career and for the Salvadorian national team, I just hope that he makes the best decisions, and I hope the best decision is La Selecta. That's just my hope.
That's got to be your bias. That's what you do.
I'm being biased, yes, I am, but I do want the best for his career. He seems like a very, very down-to-earth, hard-working player.
One thing that's just amazing is you see the cases of prospects coming out as of late that do seem to have a cultural connection with El Salvador, despite maybe not even having been in the country or spending too much time in country. But you just see how their families have created that affection, that soft spot, that identity with the country that obviously does come into play when a player has to make that decision when being called up by multiple countries.
Yeah, you heard it in the interview. He used to watch the Selecta games with his family. He's been watching it forever. So I would think it was very clear that El Salvador is it's a part of his culture, because that's not always the case when you grow up in another country. And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm always amazed. That's part of the reason I love doing what I do with Selecta Talent. Whenever you hear the Ethiopian-Salvadorian, really liking pupusas or knowing about the Cusca and La Selecta, like with Enrico, it's like, you grew up on the other side of the world where there's hardly any Salvadorians, but you still,
And a
have.
country with a deep, rich football culture like
Yeah.
Netherlands.
Right. So it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to more of those players coming up soon.
Definitely. We'll stay tuned, everybody. We'll see what happens. And we're close to wrapping up. We forgot last week to talk about the Gold Cup draw for the CONCACAF that happened last week. Just completely went past our minds. We've been going through fires up here in NorCal, so we've been busy. But anyway, the draw was last week. And, do you want to go over the teams in the draw or do you want me to remind you because I have it on screen right here?
Go for it.
All right, so we are in Group A with the arch rival of all time, the Thanos of the area, Mexico, followed by Curacao, an up-and-comer that has been challenging, and you see what their federation has been doing, and it's pretty promising. Then the fourth team is still yet to be determined, but it'll be one team between the matchups between Trinidad and Tobago versus Montserrat, or preliminary match 4 between Cuba and French Guiana. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously, Trinidad looks like the stronger team there, but we don't know what's going to happen in terms of FIFA and its intervention. Any thoughts on the group? What do you think, Hugo?
I think it's a strong group. I think we have one of the most difficult groups because, well, when you have Mexico, they're always a candidate to take the group to win it. You know, as we've seen in the last Gold Cups, Curacao has been putting up a fight. You know, they've been showing very, very interesting teams, especially individually. They have very strong teams. What they don't have is that team work.
Chemistry.
They don't have chemistry, perhaps because they put teams together from the Netherlands and all of those players who were born over there. But you can definitely see the quality of their players. So, you know, once those teams start working more and more together, they're going to be hard to beat. So I think we're in a very, very strong group. I really hope La Selecta can be in good rhythm by that time, that we have some good chemistry with our players. And in terms of the last team, I don't know, but I mean, just I think if, you know, Trinidad can manage to get that ban lifted, I think they're definitely the candidates to go through. But just leaving that aside, I think that just Mexico and Curacao are not going to be easy. They're going to be
No.
very, very difficult teams to beat.
You look at Mexico and you think, well, there's a money for the tournament for La CONCACAF, because wherever that gets played, it's going to be jam packed. And I know there's going to be a lot of Salvadorans excited, because what's more exciting than a match against Mexico? And one thing that I've started seeing too online is just how people can be torn sometimes, especially if they come from both, you know, Mexican and Salvadoran roots, on how that gets managed within the family, because that can't be easy too. Of, you know, there's a lot of passion, and then typically on the Salvadoran side, we tend to be a little more bitter or a little more gung ho when it comes to these matches, because yeah, they're the big dog, man. We always want to try and beat them. So our hearts go out to the Salvadoran Mexicans out there that are going to have to balance their family members and the match. And the good thing is it'll be a very fun match to watch if nothing shady happens like it did years ago. But I doubt that's going to happen. But there's nothing, you know, more tantalizing or exciting to a Salvadoran fan than seeing Mexico on the horizon.
Yep. And the Gold Cup has definitely become our World Cup. So it is
Unfortunately.
the
Hey,
top
but it's every 2
tournament for
years.
us. Honestly speaking, it is our most important tournament. I've always said that when we have a new coach and that coach is setting up goals, um, going to the World Cup shouldn't be one of the goals necessarily. I'm not saying that it should be a given, but that should be expected unless something terrible happens. But I think that when it comes to goals, probably making it to the semifinals in a Gold Cup should be one of our short-term goals, because it is our biggest tournament in the region.
Yeah, and you know, the format of the tournament basically facilitates getting through to the next round, with the whole concept of the top 2 third place teams facing each other. And we tend to finish third, and that's obviously helped us out in the last few tournaments, but we can't make it past that the next round. And it would be something exciting to see something finally happen. I know we got close to it against Panama under, it was Israel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, under Israel. We got close to it, close but no cigar. We faced off against the U.S. but things didn't go well in that match a couple years later. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, Mexico's the team to beat, but we can't just focus on Mexico. I also think this tournament has a disadvantage that it might be smack in the middle of the qualifying process. I've noticed that El Salvador tends to do better in the Gold Cups that are right before the qualifying process starts because it's a tune-up. It's putting the players under this pressure that isn't necessarily a huge letdown if they have a bad match or things don't go well, they don't get as far as they want to, but the consequences aren't as drastic. When there's a qualifying round in between, you kind of get that sense that El Salvador doesn't go all the way out, because they're almost taking care of themselves. They don't want to risk injuries. You also don't want to show all your cards because these are the same rivals that you're going to be playing in the qualifying rounds. So there is slightly a different dynamic when this tournament happens smack dab in the middle of qualifying, which I still don't get, other than CONCACAF likes to make money every 2 years.
And we have yet to see what the COVID situation is next year. So it might be empty stadiums or half-filled stadiums. Who knows? I mean, I can't imagine a Gold Cup that way, because part of the reason of doing the Gold Cup for CONCACAF is making all that money.
Especially how it only happens in the U.S. now, because they know they can count on the diasporas of all these countries because we're here.
Right.
And most people have the money here rather than, going to other countries and doing it. Well, there you have it. It's been a busy week. We'll see what comes of Hugo and his quest for moving on up in the ranks, because we know you've been at it for a long time. A lot of exciting news in terms of prospects yet again, and also seeing what happens with the transfers that we talked about earlier. The league in El Salvador is just about to start up, so hopefully in the next coming weeks we'll be able to contact some of them in El Salvador, see what the process has been, how teams have managed COVID, how they're feeling about getting started. But the sense that you get is there is a lot of positivity. You see brands like Umbro doing launches for kits in ways that we haven't seen in El Salvador. So that's something that you can consider an uptick. And we'll definitely try and get in contact with them so that you can hear straight from them how it's going down there. And without further ado, we're going to close out this episode. Hugo, any thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, like you said, definitely has been a very busy week, very productive, lots of prospects in many levels. So looking forward to what the next week will bring.
Definitely. I'm just glad we have stuff to talk about, and we're actually forgetting to talk about, because they haven't even been playing since January. That's the crazy thing, is we still have plenty to talk about, and hopefully you'll tune in next week, or at least listen to our next episode. We just opened our new Instagram account, the CornerBlue Podcast. You want to check us out there. We're going to have previews, random posts here and there, prompting, and responses from you guys. We love hearing from you guys. We definitely appreciate the likes and the follows. Don't forget our Twitter, our Facebook. We're on Spotify, and you can catch us on iTunes as well. So definitely have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next time, guys.
See you next time.